Welcome to Best of Three, the weekly FGC talk show that presented by the Daily Dot. I'm your host, Efren Salinas. As always, we have Michael Donka Schiller and Radical Ray Chun. As always, we're going to have some news for you. Today we have some, we're going to fill out the story of what happened with EGL and Verizon and the Dallas 10K and players not getting paid out. We also are really excited because we have, again, two guests for you. I think that this works out better, right, when you can showcase some of that camaraderie that exists in the FGC. And today we have none other than BrenttIsCool and Chris T. Are you with us, guys? Hey.
What's going on, man?
How you guys doing?
Guys, thank you very much for joining us. We're really looking forward to talking to you. Of course, this weekend is SoCal Regionals. I assume it's fair to say that you guys are competing in that tournament?
We will be there.
Yeah, we're going to be there.
Well, obviously, it's the first Capcom Premier event on U.S. soil in a while, so it's definitely one to look out for, and we're really excited to talk to you about that and much more. So, guys, stick around. We'll be with you guys later in the show.
You know, it's interesting because SoCal Regionals was supposed to happen earlier in the year, but it got pushed back due to some venue issues and some other things. But I think they did a pretty good job rearranging the tournament to work for everyone.
And again, we'll be talking about SoCal Regional a lot more, but there's a lot of cool stuff that they have planned. And I feel like everybody's living up their game. We saw Panda X Gaming with the Absolute Battle Tournament stepping up his game. The thing that I'm really excited about, aside from the fact that it's a Capcom Pro Tour Premier event, is the Street Fighter V exhibition. They're going to have Street Fighter V there, the latest build, and that's going to be really exciting, something to look out for. All right, guys, let's get into round one where we go through some news. So here we go, round one. First on the list, Zangief was revealed. You know, we had Snake Oz on months ago, or a bunch of weeks ago, and we said, "Hey, are you going to pick up Zangief?" He's like, "Birdie's my guy right now. I wonder if he's changed his mind." But let's check out that video while you guys tell me your thoughts.
Zangief's looking pretty nice so far. One thing I've noticed is that, like almost every other character in the game so far, he has a multitude of anti-fireball moves. His V trigger is invincible to fireballs. He's got the armor on his V skill. It just seems like there's so many options to reverse them in this game, and only a couple characters even have a fireball so far.
It's his lariat, right? I've seen in the videos where he like leans forward now and does a lariat.
So he has a lariat, and then he has like an angled lariat, and that's his V trigger. He turns red, and he has armor, and he can hold it to spin.
And to you, it makes no sense that this many characters would have anti-fireball moves, considering that not everybody has a fireball.
It's not that it doesn't make sense so much as I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out. The characters that were in the beta weren't the ones with the strongest anti-fireball moves, and it's not like Ryu and Charlie were zoning anyone out anyway, you know?
Ray, you've always had very astute observations on at least the appearance of the characters as they've been revealed. Your thoughts on Zangief?
Man, he doesn't look as big as Birdie, so I'm kind of disappointed.
Big as in overweight, or big because the dude looks, I think, the most muscular he's ever looked. That dude's a boss. Look at him.
One really cool thing about Zangief is that I heard if you mash his V trigger while it's activated, you can cyclone in people like from mid-screen. I think that's kind of like some kind of Taker kind of stuff from BlazBlue. I thought it was really cool. So I wonder how that's going to work out as well.
They're definitely shaking up the way these characters are expected to play.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It seems like everyone got a couple extra things to give them extra oomph. You know, they're all very separate from each other and separate from earlier iterations. You know, like Ryu's got his Denshin and Zangief's got his new like anti-fireball tools. Like, it'll be interesting to see how it all interacts.
I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere in there an air suplex or like an air command grab. I'm just excited to see what it looks like. He definitely looks cool. I'm glad that he's in the game. He looks different, but it's most likely for the better.
And there was some match footage on the VGBootCamp channel with Momochi and some other players playing. So definitely check that out if you want to see the new characters in action.
Yeah, and speaking of VGBootCamp, we're going to be showing some other footage from their channel. They've been putting a lot of cool stuff, as well as having their players perform quite well. All right. Did you guys see, speaking of character reveals, did you guys see that, of course, it was everywhere, Laura, she's from the Brazilian character. I'm gonna call her Laura because she's from Brazil, not Laura, okay? But the thing that was interesting, and it almost broke my heart, was this tweet from Ono-san here. "I have been stabbed from behind. However, I'm thinking about working hard at EGS Mexico Brazil Game Show, New York Comic Con. Please get out of my way." Is that what he's saying? Please get out of my way. The point being that he was very upset that I think it was Famitsu that put out those images early by accident. But yeah, they're everywhere, all those images. So it's out there. People know that Laura's coming. That has confirmed a lot of there was a leaked list.
It pretty much confirms that like Zen is going to be in the game.
Exactly,
that was the other character on the leak list. It's indicative of the characters to come, but at the same time, I think it's really exciting, and I think a lot of people are excited for her.
Guys, I don't want to spend too much time on this, talking about this character's appearance, because she hasn't even been fully revealed. But when Armika came out, I was like, all right, fine. You know, she exists in the Street Fighter universe. You know, Japanese proclivities, whatever. She's very seductive looking, whatever. I was on board. I see Laura, and she has, her breasts hanging out. And I'm like, do we need it? Even I, who don't mind, looking at attractive women, felt like it was a bit much. Your just quick thoughts on some of the character designs on this.
I don't care at all. I think she looks tight.
Exactly. There you go.
I think Infiltration is pretty happy.
You think Infiltration will be happy. You think day one, Infiltration will pick her up and have her going. All right, fine. Moving on, there were some big tournaments over the weekend. Not only Capcom Pro Tour events, but also Big House 5. Ray, can you give us some of that info?
Yeah, so Big House 5, it had great viewership on Twitch. It was a huge tournament. They played Melee and Smash for the Wii U and also had teams for each game. Quick run through. Melee first is Armada and second is Hungrybox, so we get a repeat of what happened at EVO.
That's right, and of course Armada took that. I don't want to say in convincing fashion, but he still had 3 stock left at the end of that match.
Yeah, it was pretty convincing. It didn't seem like Hungrybox really knew what to do.
It's interesting because that matchup has kind of a history. Peach was having a tough time beating Jigglypuff with Armada, and so he ended up switching to Young Link. But then Hungrybox started counterpicking Fox against Young Link, and then it became this weird double blind back and forth, and now I'm pretty sure Armada just kind of beats him up. So
he used Fox, right?
Yes,
and
he used Fox, and Fox is going to be better than his Fox, and it beats Jigglypuff, so it's really tough for him to deal with.
I'm watching it, and I feel like, wow, Jigglypuff Hungrybox cannot come back from this. And that's what I sometimes don't like about Melee, is that even like in Street Fighter, if you have a magic pixel left, you can still make a comeback. It's a lot less likely in Melee. Is that fair to say?
With Jigglypuff, yes. With other characters, I would say no. Jigglypuff has problems because she can't rest on her last stock against Fox.
Okay.
Because she'll be stuck in the animation and he'll come out and punish and kill her.
Okay.
So she has a tougher time coming back than other characters, but like Fox or Falco can easily zero death you multiple times in a row.
Okay. Moving on to what we usually spend our time talking about here on this show, the Capcom Pro Tour. Ray, it's your moment to shine, pal. Let us have it. Here we go.
Right.
We have the standings behind you.
So in Amsterdam, Netherlands, we had Red Fight District, and Luffy takes this one over Valmaster pretty convincingly as well. We have some good footage we might be able to show, but Luffy winning that one actually moves up just a few spots, not too big, and then Valmaster will make it into top 32 on this win as well. In the Dividing Game champion in Chengdu, China, we had Dachau beating Gact.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Dachau or Daco, however you pronounce his name, was he not using DJ very effectively in previous tournaments? Or am I making that up?
He
at like
definitely
a Canada Cup
did
or
play
something?
DJ, at least in a team tournament. I think he's played random select in tournaments before. He's got a lot of characters. He was a very, very, very famous KOF 98 player, one of the best, along with Zhao Hai, the other person sponsored by the same company. And I think he's mostly switched over to the top tiers at this point.
And now did he qualify or did he just get a ton of points?
Well, Gact, Valmaster, and Dachau all three of them made top 32, which knocks out Ryan Hart, who made it last week, Gonzalez. And interestingly enough, K-Brad is now at 35th seed.
This K-Brad is that guy that has been putting in work, man. Like, you can say whatever you want about that guy, and I've mentioned it before that we have tape from AJ, his manager, saying when it comes to a guy like K-Brad, he doesn't win tournaments, but we love him, the sponsors love him, the fans love him. That being said, I don't think that's enough for K-Brad, and he's definitely been putting in work, and he got 3rd place, is that right, at Red Fight District?
Yes, and, PR Balrog and Ricky Ortiz are teetering on that 32nd line, so we'll see if K-Brad can kind of make his way up there with them.
Let's table that discussion because we can definitely bring it up with Brentt and Chris later in the show when we talk about SoCal Regionals and the opportunities that points and qualifications might have there. All right, so let's talk about the EGL, which is the Epic Gaming Lounge's Dallas 10K. This was a tournament that went down in August, if you don't remember. It was a Dallas tournament put on by the Epic Gaming Lounge, and the biggest news about it, tournaments happen all the time, but the big news around it was that they were going to have $10,000 pot bonuses for Street Fighter, for Mortal Kombat X, for Smash 4, and Call of Duty. Of course, this is a fighting game show, but in the interest of full disclosure, Call of Duty was as well a part of it. So, the tournament went off. It was well attended. Less than a year in the existence of Epic Gaming Lounge, this past weekend, they make an announcement. Epic Gaming Lounge is unfortunately going to have to close, and we're going to liquidate all our assets. That means sell their monitors and their consoles, and we're going to have our last lock-in. And, I was one of the first people on there to say, I'm sorry to hear that this happened. It's a tough business out there. Yesterday, I start getting messages from some concerned FGC members saying basically, hey, they're not paying anybody out. They haven't paid anybody out, and they're not going to pay anybody out. And I took it upon myself to get to the bottom of it, encouraged by some people who were concerned about all this.
Now, specifically, when you say that nobody's getting paid out, did nobody get paid out? Was top 8 paid out? Were people paid out partially? Were there checks?
Exactly, and I'm glad you bring that up. There was definitely... So it was the top 4, or the people who were supposed to get that nice 10K prize pool split out amongst them, only got 25% of their winnings. Everybody below that got paid out. So, for example, NuckleDo, Dang, won the Street Fighter 4 tournament at the Dallas 10K. He was supposed to get $5,000, and he only got $1,250. Okay, so just imagine the same thing happening to everybody else. All right, so that's a shame. That's frustrating. We're going to talk about it more. But what happens after that? In a tweet that has since been deleted, and in my conversations with Shane Capel, who works for Epic Gaming Lounge, he said Verizon was going to help us with those payouts, and they backed out. He deleted that tweet, and he's not on this show now because he doesn't want to talk about that. He has been advised not to speak publicly. We tried to get him on the show specifically to hold his feet to the fire and figure out what happened. He won't be on the show. But again, I've been speaking extensively to him as well as a representative of Verizon. So what happened when this tournament started going? They were looking for sponsors. They had BenQ, they had Monster Energy Drink, and they had Verizon Fios as the headlining sponsor. I spoke with the Verizon guys, a gentleman by the name of Phil Bros, who was very cordial on the phone, and he let me know. I was like, listen, this is what happened. We are very excited about esports. We're interested. We're still actively dipping our toes in this whole esports thing. But in this case, the only thing we agreed to cover was the venue, which they covered, and the internet connectivity, which they covered. So they met their obligations. So where is this confusion about they were supposed to help us with the payouts, but they didn't? Shane shared some emails with me, and it was confirmed by the Verizon guys that they were, informed that players weren't getting paid out, and they were concerned about that. They didn't want that to be the case. And they said, let's just think about if there's anything that we can do as Verizon to help you out with that. But under no circumstances did they say, we got you, we'll cover this.
Now, what does it mean to say that people aren't getting paid out? He's the one not paying them out, right? So he's the one who told them in the first place people aren't getting paid out?
So Shane has been going and telling everybody who hasn't been paid yet, including NuckleDo, as an example, but you can assume everybody else as well, you will not be getting paid out. We do not have the funds to pay you. Huh. So that's the headline here. They will not get paid. So, sorry guys, sorry for the brief interruption. Where we were was this. We were talking about how Shane, or the Epic GL Twitter handle, was saying, don't blame us for not paying out these players. Blame these guys at Verizon. They said they were going to help us, and they didn't. I have that email that alludes to the fact that they wanted to help. Again, in that email, it does not say, we got you covered. The Epic Gaming Lounge guys paid out a total of about $22,000 for all prize pools. That's a huge chunk left over for the players who didn't get their money. Again, Do Alone is owed still $3,750. There was a little bit of confusion, and I want to clear something up. In that email, the person that Shane Capel, the guy who works for Epic Gaming Lounge, is talking with from Verizon is a woman by the name, their representative, their liaison. That woman is telling Shane, until you get this squared away, it's going to be very hard for us to be able to give another $40K. So I asked the Verizon guys, hey, it says here another $40K. Does that mean, was at any point did you guys say you would cover this? The Verizon guys say it's a coincidence that it's the same number. They paid $30K for that venue and a roughly $10K for the internet connectivity and for other various expenditures such as food and other accommodations for some of the players. So, where are we at? I hate to say it, but it looks like it was a case of, if I build it, they will come. They were supposed to have gotten the $10K to pay out these, the $10K for every game from the entrance alone, not from Verizon.
That's not a pop bonus, Efren.
Yeah.
Exactly. They did not. They would have needed
200 entrants per game is what I heard.
And I think Mortal Kombat, which had the highest entrance, had around 65 entrants. So again, they did not recover the funds that they thought they would have, and as a result, they weren't able to pay everybody.
Look, I cannot tell you the last time a non-major tournament for a non-Street Fighter game, like a non-Evo tournament for a Street Fighter game, has been breaking 200, period. And Street Fighter doesn't break 200 except at pretty notable majors. I don't even think AB hit 200 this year, and that was a pretty big tournament here in Texas, the same city as Epic Gaming Lounge. I just think there was too many numbers out there for them to ignore that, personally. The fact of the matter is you can put as much money as you want out there for a fighting game tournament, at least. I'm not as sure about Call of Duty. 99% of the people at the tournament don't think they're winning that pot. That $10,000, that $100,000, whatever that is, isn't going to bring a lot of people. It's just going to bring the best people. And so what you had a brigade of top players come here and fight for the 10K and not get it.
Again, it looks to me like, hey, if we just promise 10K for every game, again, this is not, Shane said, we thought, let's just promise them 10K and they'll arrive. He did not tell me that. That's what it looks like to me. Now, so I asked him, I was like, did you just go too big? I mean, were you overambitious? And this is a direct quote from the conversations I've been having with Shane. He said, we've held countless tournaments over the last year and have paid out over 100K in prizes, just not this much at one time. Yes, I was ambitious, but not ill-prepared. I haven't had a sponsor of this caliber either, so I didn't take the precautions I should have. Now, what is one of those major precautions? Get it in writing. Get it all in writing. So that there's no ambiguity about it. He did not. Verizon and Epic Gaming Lounge did not have a written contract. It was a verbal agreement that they would take care of the venue, take care of the connectivity with the Verizon Fios. They were the headline sponsor, but under no circumstances did they say anything else. No money was exchanged. They never gave Epic Gaming Lounge a check. So that's why when I spoke to the Verizon guy, they said we didn't feel the need to have a contract because we weren't exchanging. It wasn't a direct partnership. It was just a sponsorship. So take that for what it is.
I mean, I've personally been to Epic Gaming Lounge. I've been to the one of their anime tournaments. I've been to one of their Marvel tournaments. I think I've talked with Shane Capel, and I don't think this is necessarily a case of the guy was ambitious and he was ill-prepared in doing so. I don't think he did this on purpose, but at the same time, you have to have the funds to back up a pot bonus. A pot bonus is specifically not supposed to come from the pot itself. That's the pot, and then the bonus on top of that is what you are adding. Mm-hmm. So what I wonder is, where are the people who were paid out? Where were they paid from? If that was supposed to be from the entrants themselves, what already got paid out? Where was that pot supposed to go? Was this a tournament where all the money was supposed to be guaranteed and they just collected the profits extra? It seems like we still don't have enough information to make a lot of bold claims, but...
For the record, I do not get the impression that they ran away with any money. Okay. My understanding, and from me grilling this guy, was that they took all the money that they got from entrants, and it was $50 a head, and paid out players as best they could. They just didn't have enough to pay out everything that they had promised. So... as I mentioned earlier, they liquidated all their assets. They sold all their consoles, they sold all their screens. Surely that will help recover some funds. I asked him, what about all that? This is his response. No, that's going towards paying my business loan and the lease breakage. And I don't even have enough assets to cover a tenth of that, hence having to file for bankruptcy. I don't want to kick a guy when he's down, but how do you not prepare for this, right? That's my question. And then furthermore, he says, it sucks that the players and I got the short end of the stick. That rubbed me wrong a little bit. And I said, what do you mean that you got the short end of the stick? Right? To me, it seems like you were ill-prepared. The players got the short end of the stick. And to a degree, you're tarnishing other people's images. This was his response. And I think that everybody should listen to this because at the end of the day, people make mistakes. You can hate them. But there's people reacting irresponsibly. This is what he said about why he feels he got the short end of the stick. He says, I made a poor decision and didn't get certain things that I should have in writing. And as a direct result, I lost my business, I lost respect from the community, and I can no longer do what I love. I put 3 years of my life into Epic, and it came all crashing down in less than 2 months. Now, why do I say that we should react responsibly? Because this guy's getting death threats on Twitter. There are other TOs in Texas that are concerned. We had a great time at Absolute Battle. Absolute Battle and the VGP guys, the Versus Gameplay guys, have absolutely nothing to do with this. But you can imagine that they might feel, hey, you're making Dallas look bad. I spoke with one of the TOs, and he himself says, as a community, we don't want to crucify this guy. Let's react responsibly. These things happen. These things continue to happen. We only have control over how we react to things. And I commend, and I don't feel bad saying it was Reggie, the guy that is one of the owners of VGP. He's the one that was, reacting with that cool head, who is potentially one of the guys that should be upset about this more than the rest of us. Your thoughts on people making mistakes? We had the Zeveron guy earlier who sponsored Kazunoko and then couldn't pay. This is happening. This happens a lot in esports. This happens in FGC. What do we do? What do we do?
I mean, yeah, there's not much we can do. What I would say is that goodwill does not make a wrong right. And at some point, you have to realize your responsibility means that you have to pull through and that you've done a wrong by not pulling through. He had promised all this money, and he didn't have the means to pay it out. He doesn't deserve to feel sorry for himself at all, in my opinion, whatsoever. He was not wronged in any way, shape, or form, except by himself. But unfortunately, there's nothing as a community we can do. I've heard stories. I know like VQ Gaming, one of the Call of Duty teams, have been talking about suing, all these other things. I don't think that's going to work. There's bankruptcy involved. I really think, unfortunately, we have to move past it, but recognize that we need things in writing. And I don't know how you get that from a tournament organizer. I think people see a company behind something and they expect, oh, it's got to be legit, right? But anyone can be the face of a company and anyone can do something stupid. So we really need to demand a higher standard from the people running these tournaments. And I don't know exactly whether that means, seeing contracts or what it means, but it's going to be interesting with these big out of fighting game sponsors, with Verizon, with Red Bull, with all these other companies. When are they going to start getting scared? They said they don't want to pay out another $40K, this, and that. If we lose these sponsors, we can't run the tournaments of the 200 per game magnitude that they want to run. So yeah, unfortunately, it happened. Complaining about it isn't going to do anything, but we should definitely remember it as a community.
So I, of course, was concerned about that. This FGC show is intended to be for the FGC, but we are based in Texas, and we are happy that there are tournaments that happen here, and they've been working extremely hard, the VGP guys, the Texas Showdown guys, and many more. So I reached, what was one of the questions I had for the Verizon liaison that I was speaking with. I was like, does this mean that you guys are never sponsoring esports again? Is this like, tried it, out of here? That is not what their reaction was, and I want to read to you exactly what they said. Of course, they can't justify working with Epic Gaming Lounge again, and they're bankrupt and they're gone anyway, so that's the case. But they said that they are still actively seeking out esports opportunities, that they have it well within their power to throw $200,000 at a tournament if they wanted to, but that's not their intention. Their intention is to get in this slowly, learn the market, and again, I think that was what their intention was. Certainly lessons have been learned, maybe, we could hope, but the takeaways are players are not getting paid. And we're watching here on the screen behind us, we have NuckleDu and Damien. This is the grand finals match from this tournament that went down in August.
Which is, by the way, not at the Epic Gaming Lounge. It's a separate venue that Verizon paid for.
That's correct. Verizon found this venue because they wanted to have the Verizon Fios high-speed connectivity, and the Epic Gaming Lounge did not, would not be able to handle that unless they installed cable, laid cable, and obviously they weren't going to do that for a tournament. So Verizon found this venue. Again, neither Dominion nor Do and a slew of other players are going to get paid out. So that's basically the end of it, right? At least as far as the story that we're telling here. Takeaways, thoughts. Ray, how do you feel about all that, man?
It's terrible. Like Mike, I think Mike covered it pretty well. It's just, the guy wasn't prepared. I mean, made a big mistake.
The only things I can say are that to run a tournament, if you're going to have a pot bonus, that has to be something out of pocket. People are probably going to come in similar numbers, especially locally, regardless of the money in the tournament. As long as you have a venue, as long as you have the right games, which is pretty easy to figure out, and as long as you have some sort of stream, people are going to come to the tournament locally, and you can get a few big players to come out, maybe pay them to come out, or put in a singular pot bonus that they can come to fight for. But expecting a certain turnout in something that's just so volatile is impossible, and it's bound to work out this way.
last little things I'll note is Shane did mention that they did pay for the travel and lodging of some of their players. If I'm not mistaken, Cabra was there. Of course, Do and Dominion were there. I think Justin Wong was there, and several other players. The other thing he mentioned to me, or really what I want to say is, to the FGC as a whole, know what you're getting yourself into. I was talking to other TOs, and they say this takes a toll on you, your life, your family. You have to put a lot into it. There are other rumors that I don't think we should spend too much time wasting on. Not rumors, but they had a lot of late entrants, and they had to create a 9th bracket out of nowhere and a 9th pool. And some of those guys who played all the way through their pools were basically paid out to not compete because they couldn't fit it into the bracket. And it was just this mess. It's like, come on, guys. It's not, hey, this looks cool. Let's do it. Get your shit together. Get it straight. Prepare. Ask other people in the business. They should have been talking to Javi from Texas Showdown. They should have been talking to Reggie at VGP. Should have been talking to all these guys. They didn't. And this is the result. I suspect this is not the last time we're going to be talking about something like this on the show.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's already the second, right? We had Zevron earlier. We have this. Both situations of people promising something they couldn't fulfill out of their own pockets. I'm sorry, but get started before you start, paying with money you don't have. Because neither of these people, Zevron nor EGL, was around long enough and had a track record long enough to be paying money that they expected to make.
Exactly. That being said, my closing thought, do not try to do a witch hunt on this guy. The guy's shamed. Again, you don't have to feel bad for him, but don't be trying to make all his information public and do death threats and shit, for fuck's sake. Grow up. Be an adult.
Well, we got 2 guests today, Efren.
We have 2 guests today, and we're going to move right into, thank you for that transition, move right in to round 2. Brentt and Chris T. Guys, thank you so much for joining us again. I'm glad that you're still hanging around. Did you hear any of our conversation about the epic failure? I mean, the epic GL 10K.
Yeah.
And before we get into this interview, your thoughts on all that? Yeah, I think that says it all. Yeah, just that.
What's the situation, man? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've never had any experience with that, but we know, especially with people not getting paid out of VXG, we've had friends that have been affected by that, and it's just not a good situation.
Yeah. Can you talk about VXG a little bit?
So we had Mark Teddy, one of our best friends, go out to VXG, and he didn't get paid out as well. So we've been kind of familiar with these type of situations happening within the FGC for quite a long time now. And I mean, it's just a disappointment as it is, but if something seems shady, we're probably not going to end up going to it. We try to get as much detail as we can about the tournament before we go out. And, this was advertised pretty well, I guess. But, every now and then you're going to have a situation like this, and it sucks, but you can't really do anything about it.
All right. Well, we don't want to talk about them anymore. We want to talk about you guys. There's a lot of stuff happening in the California fighting game scene. Some have said it's the most impressive fighting game scene in the country. However, an absolute battle when Crackfiend showed up was a different story. Hopefully that'll bite you guys in the ass and you'll come and show us some of your stuff here in Texas.
I don't know about that. I don't know about being grouped with that, but
Fair enough. But we are very excited to have you guys on. Ray, why don't you start us off with this interview with these 2 fine young gentlemen?
All right, so Brentt is one of the best Rufus players on the South Coast, like he'd like to say, or the West Coast, I'm sorry. He's been around Wednesday night fights. He makes a statement, makes a scene. He's been beating and competing with these top players such as Snake Eyez. You got Alex Valle there. You got a whole bunch of people, even Low Tier God. But on the other side, we have Chris T, who is one of the scrubbiest Kens that is so good somehow. But, I mean, Chris T is an amazing player. He always does well at EVO. We see Brentt making it out at these big tournaments. They're great guys, and, now let's get a chance to get to know them a little bit more.
Exactly. So, start us off, Ray. By the way, I just say Ray was kind enough to book these guests for us and prepare this interview for us. So that's why he's taking the reins.
Yeah, we go back a little bit, but all the way back to the Call of Duty days. So I wanted to ask you guys a little bit about, what got you into the Street Fighter scene, or when did you get into the fighting game scene?
I never really played video games at all. The only reason I play is because friends of mine played Marvel 2, that kind of thing, and I just kind of felt left out. So I told them when the new Street Fighter comes out, I'll jump on. Didn't expect it to take it this far, but I mean, when you're having fun with something, it's kind of hard to stop playing.
Cool.
Man, all the way back
for
in
me,
Marvel too.
I was a Call of Duty player. I've been playing video games for a while, but like on my 14th birthday, Street Fighter 4 came out, and then I was like, you know what? I used to play Street Fighter 2 with my brother back in the day. I picked it up, and I loved it.
Chris, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm not sure if you're joking or not, but you guys are young, right? Can you tell us your age for the audience at home?
So I'm 20 years old, Brent.
I literally turned 23 like last week.
Yeah.
Hey, congratulations. I turned 31 last week. But, I mean, the reason why I bring that up is because, again, we've said it before, like this is the fighting games and Street Fighter, it's supposed to be an old man's game, right? But the young talent has certainly been showing up and leveling up. How do you guys feel that you fit into that landscape of younger guys versus older guys?
I think at first we kind of like embraced the whole like, oh, we're the younger generation thing, going to Wednesday night fights and whatnot. But as we leveled up, we kind of leveled up pretty fast, not to be narcissistic or anything. I think we don't really classify each other as like the younger generation, but one of the top players now. You know what I mean?
There you
so
go.
Instead of looking at the younger generation, older generation, we're looking at it as like we're competing with these guys now, and we've set the standard as well. You know?
Absolutely. Is that how you feel about it, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, with like online play especially, it's a lot more convenient for the younger people to play. You know, like high school kids don't really have the means to travel to weeklies during the week and stuff like that. But the fact that they included net play as such a big deal, Street Fighter 4 really was really welcoming to the younger crowd.
That like helped me out a lot because I mean Brent can attest to this, but like I was never allowed to go anywhere during high school, and when I met these guys first, like I'd have to play with them online before my dad let me go to their house because I was like 14, 15 at the time. He was like, "What are you doing playing video games with a bunch of like older people and whatnot?" My parents didn't really understand that, so online really did good for me for like the first couple of years until my parents were comfortable enough with knowing, you know, my best friends and everything and letting me go to tournaments with them, and that's what kind of helped me start leveling up as well.
You know, we sometimes forget that we see the face on the stream, we see the results when we're watching the tournaments, but we forget that, you know, people have lives outside of fighting games. Your parents came around. Was that a struggle, or what's that situation now? Surely they think you're the best Ken in the country, better than Integra or anybody else that we know.
Well, I mean, my parents, like, coming from, you know, the Middle East, they didn't really approve of the whole video game thing. It was just kind of like school. But once my dad started seeing like results and that I was bringing home money from tournaments, he was like, all right, well, I mean, I guess you're kind of good at this, so I'll let you do whatever you want to do. Just keep, you know, your school first. And that's what's been kind of my mentality about, you know, Street Fighter and life. But.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about winning these tournaments and bringing home money. You know, can you talk a little bit about Wednesday night fights?
So Wednesday night fights, we started going like 3 years ago around there. We were pretty bad at the time, and we would get really excited whenever we made like even top 16 or like top 8 once in a blue moon. But I don't know what happened, man. We just started grinding so hard, and once we started getting like consistently top 3 and top 5, that's when like in our heads we were like, okay, we're capable of actually winning this tournament. So that was a motivation I was capable enough of winning the tournament. Brent was still struggling with, you know, with Snake Eyes, but I was able to overcome that with, you know, picking a bad matchup like Sagat. But eventually, once Ultra came out, I was able to beat him with Ken, and not on a consistent basis, you know, but I was able to do it, and I was happy about that because I wasn't putting as much hours into Street Fighter as I was anymore, and to continue getting the results that I was getting was making me happy.
So you guys talk about grinding. Do you mostly play with each other? Do you set up situations in training mode? How does it work? Do you have other friends that you're playing with? Like, what is your situation for grinding outside of Wednesday night fights every week?
I mean, now that Wednesday night fights is no more, at least for the time being. We have a really strong local scene where I live. We live about an hour and a half from like LA, in the high desert. So I mean, we have a lot of offline players that, you know, aren't necessarily like at our level, but they're good competition. So I mean, just constantly playing offline especially is good. I mean, Chris and I obviously have played so much together, and but you can only play the same person so much before, you know, it stops being beneficial, and you have to really broaden who you play against.
Yeah.
And an emphasis on like Brent and I playing together, like out of anybody. I know the Rufus matchup more than anybody in this planet.
Yeah, so And I mean, he's obviously shown that. So it's paid off for sure.
But guys, when it comes to Wednesday night fights, I mean, I think I saw a video just the other day of Alex Valle in this brand new esports venue that looks rad as hell. How do you guys feel about your Wednesday night fights scene leveling up, and that esports moniker that gets attached to it now?
Well, it's actually not. It's there's a lot more to it than that, because you have the whole Super Arcade situation returning. So you have Valle with his Wednesday night fights plans with the esports arena, and then you have Watson planning to reopen Super Arcade, and as of now, they're both planning on Wednesday. So
Damn.
It's going to be rough actually to see what happens there, because like, we just want to play with the best players. That's how you get better. That's why SoCal's always been the best, because you're playing with the best. But when you have that division of your top players, some want to go here, some want to go there, it might not work out that well. So.
Well, I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but where are you leaning? Are you going to go the Valle route or the Watson route?
It's like one of those things where like you feel like your parents are divorced, like Watson and Valle are both responsible for bringing most of SoCal's younger players up from the ground. So it's, I definitely want to check out both. I'm not going to play favorites or anything, but I will say that it depends where, wherever the competition's at, whatever is going to help us improve is where we're going to go.
Yeah.
But speaking of these leaders of your community, right? Alex Valle has been doing a lot, and we're going to talk about SoCal Regionals here in a second. Does it seem like he's doing kind of extra legwork? Like, what's the perception over there? Sure, it feels like your parents are divorced, as you mentioned, and you don't want to have to pick a side. But if you guys can gauge the temperature over there, what are people feeling? Like, well, Alex Valle is really making moves. He's teamed up with Capcom.
You have your loyalists who have grown up playing at Super Arcade and are gonna forever play Super Arcade, and then you have the crowd that you're going to get, that newer generation when Street Fighter V comes out, that I think Vi is really aiming for. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's how it's going to play out. But I do expect everyone to at least give both a chance and not write anyone off before trying both out.
That seems fair, especially after all the trouble that Watson went through. I was watching those court proceedings or those town hall proceedings. That guy trying to get things going. I mean, it looked like the guy's putting in the work, I guess, right? It's a struggle to get that going.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, most people are just internet tough guys that like to give him a hard time. But, I mean, no one really knows what the amount of work he puts in behind the scenes. And it's been unfortunate. We've all lost something when Super Arcade went out. But I'm glad it's finally looking like it's going to take shape here within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Okay,
Ray, take us to our next topic, please.
All right, man. The next big event is coming this weekend. SoCal Regionals. Are you guys ready? What are your guys' thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, Chris, the reason he said that is because he hasn't been playing as much. He's been really.
So I'm going into my third year of college right now, and I'm a chemistry major, so I'm getting into my upper division chemistry courses. Mm-hmm. And this is not a fun year for me right now. I've been, drowned with schoolwork and everything, and I'm just trying to maintain life before I start thinking about Street Fighter. So for the past couple of months, I haven't really been playing that much at all.
Pretty much post-Evo.
Yeah, I've just been kind of focusing on my schoolwork and trying to find a job and everything like that, and trying to take care of business outside of Street Fighter first before I even think about playing again or practicing, which is, it worries me with SCR coming, this weekend, but I don't know, hopefully something clicks again when I start playing.
Well, Chris, I was going to save it for later, but since you bring it up, this whole idea of education versus following that passion, right? We had NuckleDo on a couple weeks ago, and he said that he wishes he could be in college, that he lives near a college campus, and he sees those kids, and he's like, wow, that life is something that I yearn for, but I'm doing this grind over here.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel that tug, like, dang, or is education that important to you?
I mean, to each is his own, man. Like, I don't know how else to say it. If you really want to follow Street Fighter, then you do you, Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with that. I just personally, I'm motivated to get an education. I'm motivated to become successful. I want to get a good job. I want to have a family in the future. I want to be able to take care of my parents. I wouldn't be able to do that with the money that, Street Fighter was providing right now and the amount of competition that Street Fighter is going to have, Not saying that I'm afraid I'm not going to stay at the top or anything. I'm just saying that, like, I think my plan is a very, very solid plan. You know what I mean? I'm going to kind of do my thing and go to college and hopefully, become a dentist and make some money.
Hey, there you go, man. Hey, somebody who planned.
Now, do people in college know that you play Street Fighter? Is this part of your life, or do you keep them, like, totally separate?
I mean, I kept it separate until like when I was rushing my fraternity, I kind of like people got to know me as the guy that, plays video games. And then, like whenever somebody meets me, like I've actually had a couple of random people in college be like, "Oh, you're Chris," from like the gaming community and whatnot. And I mean, it's kind of cool and whatnot, but I usually keep it separate unless somebody asks me like, "Oh, like what's your hobby?" or something like that. You never want to bring. That's not the first topic that you want to bring up to a girl in college.
Hi, I'm Chris. I play Street Fighter.
By the way, I play video games and I'm a professional gamer and whatnot. But once you start telling them that you travel and you make money out of it, then they're like, "All right, you're kind of cool."
Brentt, SoCal Regionals, have you been putting in work? Are you ready to go?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been on the grind. I've been traveling a lot these past, like, post-Evo. I made it out to TFC, made it out to Summer Jam. I've really been putting the practice because I finally feel like I've kind of hit that mark where I'm able to beat anyone if as long as I play it to my best. So I've definitely been practicing, just been trying to focus on getting the dust off him because, I feel like his performance is just as important to me as my own. So I want to make sure that we're both ready to go.
So just to clarify, Chris, even though you're saying that you've been really busy and you haven't had a chance to put as much time as you'd like, you are definitely still competing at SoCal Regionals.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime I have the opportunity to compete, like the only reason why I'm going to SCR is because I'm doing all of my like homework ahead of time before Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I mean, I have to do that in order for me to have a little bit of fun as well. I want to be able to play Street Fighter again and have that that feeling of competing. It's been a while since I even went to a local tournament, so I just want to be able to play again. School is important, but I also love to play Street Fighter and kick it with my friends, so I want to be able to do that as well. I got to find a balance.
Sure. I think they call that work hard to play hard. This is a Capcom Pro Tour premier event, which means whoever wins will qualify. This is going to be a stacked tournament. Vi's been tweeting about all these crazy players that are coming in from all over the world. Do you guys think you have a chance? Who are you scared of? Who can you beat? Who can't you beat? Who do you hope is not in your pools? Let's hear it.
I mean, of the international, I know a couple people who have already qualified are coming. Momochi, I've seen in the pools already, and I don't know about Infiltration, but either way, I mean, those guys are obviously already qualified, so they're just coming to gatekeep, make it harder for the rest of us. But I have no problem playing against Ken. I'd actually love the chance to play against Momochi. I personally, the literally only person I ever hate playing against is Snake Eyes. I just cannot stand him. But if I can avoid him, I always think that I have a pretty good shot.
What about you, Chris? I know you're a little dusty, but you think you can take some people out?
I mean, as long as I have 2 bars and a full stacked Ultra, I'll be able to DPF ADC, so that's all I care about. As long as I don't play Infiltration, man. Infiltration always beats me. He beat me last SCR, he beat me this Evo. He knocked me out at Evo. Like, every time I played Infiltration, I lose. Snake Eyes, on the other hand, that's a 50-50. I know he's been playing a lot more. I'm not really afraid to play anybody. I'm just going to go in there and do my thing whoever I play, man.
Guys, we're going to keep you around for round 3, but before we move on to that segment where we'll be seeing some of your replays, and hopefully you guys can give us your, what was going on in your mind, there's one thing I want to bring up with you, Brentt. You were tweeting out recently that our Street Fighter is sending you to Canada Cup?
Yeah, so they had a series of tournaments sponsoring 2 players, one from the East Coast, one from the West Coast for SCR, and I decided, what the heck, like, I'll enter just to, like I said, it's just practice, just something to keep my hands busy, and I ended up winning, taking it, and obviously I live in SoCal, so what they were kind enough to offer me was to instead send me to a different tournament, and I chose Canada Cup, another Capcom premiere. I've been before; it's a fun event, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, that one always turns out to be an amazing tournament. Now, the reason why I really want to bring that up is because you guys are friends with Alex Myers, if I'm not mistaken. And Alex Myers has been sponsored.
I'm just kidding. He's our boy.
Yeah. You jerks. Well, I was going through your Facebook pictures looking for a thumbnail for to promote the show, and I saw pictures of you guys hanging out with Alex Myers. So don't pretend like you're not friends.
He's our boy. We just love to hate him. He's like that guy in our group that we just love to hate on.
Apparently, you're not the only ones.
Yeah, exactly. You're not because he was sponsored by R Kappa. We're talking about different subreddits for fighting games. Our Street Fighter sending you to Canada Cup. R Kappa has sent Alex Myers to several tournaments, including the most recent Evo, and has been roasted hard for his performance. How do you guys feel about this whole Reddit sponsorship, crowd-funded sponsorship? Not so much requesting funds via like a GoFundMe or Indiegogo, but having a community sponsor you. Is
It's-
is there a future in that? I mean, yeah, you can give me your take on it.
Definitely, there's a future in it. You just got to be smart about it. You got to know that when people are putting their own money out of their pocket to send you places, you just have to watch what you say, word the way you tweet properly, because especially with our Kappa, because that's a cutthroat place. You know, our Street Fighter is definitely a lot different than our Kappa in the sense that like it's a place where you can actually go to look for information to get better about at Street Fighter. Our Kappa seems more like a place to just kind of gossip about what's the latest trend in the community. So with that, you just got to be smart about it and understand that if you're sponsored by a place full of trolls, you're going to get trolled as well eventually if you don't win.
Fair enough. Okay, on that point, we're going to move on to round 3, and we're going to watch some of y'all's replays. So here we go, round 3. So the first clip that we are watching is from the Fall Classic, right? Why don't you set it up? Is that right? Is that the first thing we're watching here?
The first one is actually from SoCal Regionals Prelude.
Oh, correct. Let me as you set it up, I'll bring it up.
All right, so this one, the classic, if you watch Wednesday night fights, you'll see this matchup all the time. The Zangief versus Ken.
I'm finding it, so give me a second.
So here, I kind of want to focus on what I feel like is Chris T's specialty, is that his reactions are on point. His whiff punishing is a very hard thing to do, and he does that so spectacularly against Zangief. And
So we're going to be watching a clip. This is you, Chris, versus Snake Eyes.
Yeah, just walk us through your thoughts.
Oh God. My thought process against Snake Eyes is like, it's completely different than everybody that I've ever played against.
What do you mean by that? Like, unpack that for us.
Snake Eyes is the only person that I've played against that has given me like migraines after I play him, win or lose. I literally am thinking 24/7, and I know the matchup Ken wins, but like people don't understand that if you make one mistake against Snake Eyes, you're gonna get punished very, very hard, and chances are you're gonna lose the round because of it. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm hitting this guy and whiff punishing 30 times. He just has to get one, German running bear grab suplex on me, and I'm caught in the vortex, and I'm like, well, which way do I block now? And if I block incorrectly, I'm kind of caught up in the same vortex, or I get stunned, game over. So I have to be on my toes 24/7 against Snake Eyes. It's very and I can't do Ken things against Zangief. I don't want to just stay back and have to whiff punish and throw fireballs around. I want to get in. I want to car throw. I want to jump. You know what I mean? He doesn't allow that. He doesn't allow my character to do that, and I hate playing against Snake and Zangief.
So, I mean, in this clip, you are trying to stay in those ranges. You are punishing his whipped green hands. You're saying you don't actually like to play that way?
I do when it comes to, I don't know how to explain it, man.
It's a lot of trial and error. Like, I've seen these guys play for months, and, it's gone from Chris never being able to beat him once to him beating him with Sagat, but then it turned into, all right, now he wants to beat him with Ken, and he's actually had a lot of success. But it's like, with Snake Eyes,
You have to know that, I have played Snake Eyes plenty of times, so there are some player knowledge that I know just in the back of my head, but when it comes to all these whiff punishing and everything that I'm doing right here, it's also because of the ranges that I want to be in. I know it's kind of uncomfortable for Zangief, Either if I throw a fireball, it's going to be too close for him to react, or if I throw a fake fireball, he's going to want to EX green hand, or if he tries to get in with a green hand, I'm in the range where I can comfortably just sweep or low forward fireball. Again, I want to make him just press buttons and try to get in on me, because Zangief's normals are bad to me. Just the only thing that's really good is just his crouch jab and stand short. But there's not really anything that Ken throws out that's going to be able to beat that unless I just stupidly step kick. And I'm not going to step kick in that range because he can SPD me. Mm-hmm. So I like to stay in the range where if he were to do anything by moving forward, I'll be able to stop him by checking him in any way, whether he's doing a special move, jumping, or green hand, anything like that.
We've heard you now say that you hate playing Snake Eyes. We've heard Brentt say he hates playing Snake Eyes. I think we've heard half the people who've come on this show say that he's their least favorite person to play against. You don't see too many other scary Zangiefs. What is it that separates him from other Zangiefs?
He's a very, very strong footsie-based player. I mean, yeah, Zangief stands short's a strong move in itself. But, I mean, if you watch Itabashi, if you watch Hagajin or any of the other Zangief players, you really don't see them utilize it like he does. He really makes you afraid to press buttons in the neutral. And you kind of hang yourself by being scared to press buttons because he'll close the space on you. It's hard.
One more thing I want to talk about is Chris. You like to DP a lot. I know you play Ken, but I mean, what gives you the courage or what gives you that feeling to go in and do these DPs?
Okay, for example, if I have 2 meters, right, and I'm on the offense, most of the any Ken player, they're gonna want to uppercut because if I get a counter hit, dash ultra, that's a full ultra, or if I get a counter hit, I can FADC going for a mix up with like crouch fierce or something like that. When it comes to on the defensive side, on the other hand, you can't show people too much respect, especially characters that feel like they can just maul over you when you're on defense. I need to let them know that, I have an uppercut and I'm going to do it. And I'll do it at stupid times sometimes just so I can get in the opponent's head. Like, I will do it and I don't care if you think that's crazy. Because now the momentum is going to quickly switch to me. And if it doesn't work, I'll keep a note of that. But sometimes I have a very good feeling of when I would be like pressing a button if I was the opponent. So I kind of put myself in issues. Like, would I do this at this time? All right, so let me just try to uppercut, keep him in check.
Man. All right, next up we have a video of Brentt playing K-Brad at the Fall Classic. Brentt, I've heard that you've beaten K-Brad about 5 out of the 6 meetings. Can you talk a little bit about this matchup?
Beat me our first time that we played at Wednesday Night Fights back in 2012, but ever since then, I've never lost to him. Except in teams, but I mean, that's like one game. But every tournament set we've played, I've beat him.
So about this one, I want to talk about how you walk forward and launcher him and then just ultra. Like, what gave you the thought process to do that?
Well, specifically, Rufus has a far stand roundhouse. It's very, very underutilized. You don't really see Justin or Ricky use it that much, and I like it because one, it's low invincible. Mm-hmm. So low forwards, sweeps, things like that will whiff. They'll whiff, and it'll pop them up for an ultra. And Cammy's a very low forward heavy character, especially against Rufus because he has no real reversal when he has no meter. So you're gonna see Cammy's just kind of like bully Rufus. And I know that a lot of times Cammy players will get in an autopilot mode where they're gonna jab low forward, and they're either gonna confirm to the combo or they're going to just stop walk forward pressure anymore. So I look for that 1 or 2 jab spot, and then I throw that out because if he low forwards me, it's gonna counter hit, and it works really well on Cammy. So that's kind of why I use it against her a lot.
So you're talking about fighting versus Cammy, but then you also talked about specifically fighting versus Snake Eyes. When do you make the differentiation between fighting versus the character and fighting versus the player, and how do you adjust your game plan around that?
It just depends on your past experience. I mean, if you have a lot of experience against a person, you can't ignore the knowledge you've learned over that time. But when you play against someone for the first time, you don't really have much to go off of as far as their bad habits go, unless you've really studied it.
You slowly stop playing the matchup and you start playing the player subconsciously. That's how I think about it. Like right now, like I play the Rufus matchup right against Brentt, but it's gone to a point to where like we just know each other, so I know everything he's gonna want to do. He knows everything that I want to do. But at that level, it comes down to the matchup on like who wins the matchup. So most of the time, I'll probably get the W.
Okay. We have another clip that we're going to go into. This is from the same match. Is that not correct?
Yes, it is, and it's also about Brentt setting up a nice little delayed dive kick at the end. Punishing Cammy. You know what? How do you plan out these? How do you choreograph these setups and all the way to the corner? These delayed things.
It just depends. Like you were saying, it's a player specific thing. So like I've watched K-Brad play a lot against Ricky and Justin. I've played him myself a lot, and I know that he's not someone that uses the fierce crouch tech that really hurts Rufus. He just regularly crouch techs, and when I know that, that's like me smelling blood. So I know that I have a very good chance of catching that. And Rufus's B&B does really good corner carry, and that's where I want Cammy, because her hitbox is really good for Rufus for a lot of his nasty stuff.
Guys, I asked the chat if they had any questions for you, and the only question I'm getting is, and I teased you guys about it earlier, what do you guys think about Tommy Guns?
Tommy Guns. Tommy Guns, I've actually known him for a while. We've played online years back, and he's a good friend of mine. I will say, he's very confident person, and he's told me, I think the Crack Fiend match gave him a lot of confidence in that he'd come to SCR and body everyone in SoCal except Snake Eyes. But I just hope he knows that, that there's a different level there between Crack Fiend and
Hey,
he's a good friend.
Y'all need to put your money where your mouth is, all right? Come and prove it, is what I'm saying to you.
I mean, it's SCR.
Tommy Guns is a character, man. Like Brentt, like I've known him for a while from online play. We've talked shit to each other plenty of times, but at the end of the day, he's still cool. You know what I mean? And I'm looking forward for him coming out or me actually playing him offline.
Guys, we have one more replay that we want to show. It doesn't involve either of you, but since we've talking about how much of a headache Snake Eyes can be, we have a clip that Mike, you sent our way. This is from the VGBootCamp YouTube channel.
It was the match between Dashio's Seth and Snake Eyes' Zangief, where he gets put in quite the situation and can't really get out of it.
All right, we're going to play it, and you guys can feel free to comment on it if you like.
This is the secret
I
to beating
play
Snake
Seth,
Eyes.
and I've actually tried using Seth against Snake Eyes quite a bit, and I actually had a little bit of success, but I didn't know about this particular situation that he could do, and it's pretty...
I've never seen this before, so I'm watching this right now. This is insane. It's like an infinite in the corner.
It just seems like the fireball has low enough recovery that he can't really effectively jump out of it. I mentioned on the last show with the Dashio replay, his range game is just so incredible. Like he gets himself in just the right situation.
Especially against Zangief, because as Seth, obviously Seth is very strong against Geef, but because of his low life, if you make one good read on Seth, you're going to do a lot of damage. So space control is very important, and that's why I think Dashio is so strong, because he knows how much it can hurt if he even makes one little error.
But have you guys ever seen anything like this?
I've
And then
never
against
seen
a guy
anything
like
like
Snake Eyes, too. I mean, this is incredible. He's literally not moving but throwing fireballs. Waiting. He only jumps forward once. He doesn't jump forward ever again, but he just can't figure out how to get the hell out of there.
Well, is he using... I can't... It's kind of small, but is he using Ultra 2?
Yeah, he's using Ultra 2.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that would be his way out. But like,
Even
this is good for me because I've at the point where I don't even want to pick Rufus against Snake anymore. So I'll definitely keep this in mind for when I play him next time.
Hey, you're welcome, Brentt, and you can thank Mike for having given you the suggestion. Yes. Guys, we want to thank you. We want to wish you luck, obviously, for SoCal Regionals. We hope you guys kick some butt. Hopefully one of you guys qualifies. Not that both of you can. But we definitely want to thank you for coming on the show. We love talking to guys from other parts of the country, and you guys definitely representing California well. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
It's been a good time.
Thank you very much for watching Best of 3. I'm your host, Ferenc Salinas. Michael Donka Schiller, Radical Ray Chun, the man with the plan.
The man with the plan. I like it.
Thank you for watching, guys.